Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every week we try our best to stay on topic as we talk about movies. And this week, we're talking about...
Star Wars.
Yes, we're talking Star Wars, talking about Star Wars.
You good?
Yeah, I had to get that song out of my way.
Good, I'm glad.
Yep, we're talking about Star Wars 1977, the movie that started the pop culture landscape we know today. Probably one of the most important movies of the late 70s.
Of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time, definitely. Started a phenomenon. I mean, if Jaws was a phenomenon, Star Wars was just...
Star Wars dwarfs Jaws in terms of cultural impact.
Oh yeah, I mean, it beat Jaws' box office numbers, where even Steven Spielberg bought out an ad in, I think, the LA Times, congratulating George Lucas on beating his numbers, because it was just extraordinary how many people came out to actually see Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And it stayed in the theater. God, how long did it stay in there for?
It was over a year, right?
Yeah, it was just continuously being run throughout so many theaters. Yeah, so Star Wars is a huge deal to fandom. Really the kickoff of fandom.
I would think so. I mean, Star Trek's in the 60s, and that was a big fan culture. I think they were doing, Star Trek conventions in the mid 70s. And comic books had always been, this weird niche thing, but fandom as we know it now, that was really, Star Wars' touchstone. It transformed how pop culture was, received.
Yeah, it started... Pop culture really, stuck its feet in for pop culture, fandom. I mean, if we thought it was a big deal that Jaws came out with promotional toys with their movie, the Star Wars toys were just out of this world wanted, and they just were not expecting that, to the point that they had to give out vouchers. Hey, you're going to get them next year.
They sold this kid $60 for a scrap of paper, and it said, "I owe you 2 Darth Vader dolls."
Yeah, and those toys are ridiculously expensive now. Especially the Boba Fett with the spring action grenade launcher in the back.
Oh.
Or not a grenade, rocket launcher.
Okay, I got a question for you, because, we are way too young to be, Star Wars OG, right?
Well, yeah.
Far too young.
We're 90s kids.
Yeah, but I remember when Phantom Menace came out, and they tried to do the same thing with the big toy line and all this other stuff.
And people were stampeding and trampling each other. They were waiting out there at, midnight?
Yeah, something like that. I remember I saw Phantom Menace, I think that's opening weekend, something like that.
I think so, too.
And my dad took me to go see it, and I was like, oh, cool, Star Wars, Phantom Menace. And, it was Phantom Menace, and I was a small child, and my dad was like, yeah, this is definitely Star Wars, but he still bought me all the toys and shit.
I still have some of my Phantom Menace toys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ones that came out with, what was it, that square, it was, almost like a cassette. But it was just this chip that came with the action figures.
Oh, yeah, I remember those. No, I remember they used to have a Jabba the Hutt that you would put, slime in, and you would squeeze it in, and, it would puke stuff, or, something like that. It was one of those, that trend of gross-out toys of, the early 2000s.
Yeah, I had, what was it, apart from the action figures? I had the yellow racer. Or not the racer, the ship that Anakin and R2 get into.
Oh, yeah.
Towards the end of the movie. I had that, but it shot out, those little discs.
Oh, you're lucky. I wanted that one for Christmas. I got, low-rent Star Wars toys.
Oh, no, I got that from, Big Lots. It was just a score there, and I got it.
Lucky. But, yeah, Star Wars, 77. Where do you want to even get started with this? Because I feel like anytime you're going to talk about, the canon, the main canon of geekdom, fandom, especially Star Wars, people, people talk shit about, the Disney stuff, rightfully so, whatever. They talk shit about the prequels, rightfully so, or whatever. But the original trilogy, is that still Santa Sanctum? Can we even critique these?
It's untouchable.
Is it untouchable?
It is perfection. We don't touch it. We don't try to change it.
Okay. Okay, we don't try to change it, but Lucas can change it as much as he wants.
Hey, it's his. We can bitch and moan about, the things that he wants to change to it, but us as viewers, we don't change it.
I guess, but look, I'm just open with this. New Hope, Star Wars. Love it. I love this movie. I think it's one of the best examples of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Propelled in cinema. I think the world is really cool. I fucking love Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker,
Yes.
the everyman, the kid who goes from being this farm boy to realizing, his truth and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think Han Solo or Harrison Ford plays the best scoundrel. He's the best pirate, captain
Absolutely.
you can find. Then you have Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, who is just it's Carrie Fisher. Everybody loves Carrie Fisher.
It's Carrie Fisher, but she's not the damsel in distress. She's the princess that's going to get shit done.
Yes.
And it's I think that's so important for women and also young girls, teenagers, seeing that there's a strong woman. It's yes, I'm a princess, but you better believe I'm going to go and get the stuff to defeat the Empire. Yeah. I'm going to help. I'm going to do good. And I'm going to kick ass at the same time.
I thought that was cool because Princess Leia, does she going around fighting with a lightsaber? No, but she'll shoot back, or she talks back to Vader all the time. She's not the I'm completely helpless. I'm aware of what's going on kind of thing. But
and it's you might kill me, but I'm gonna go down with a fight.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I love A New Hope, but Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, I might have less love for. Because, personally, I'm just not a major fan of Empire and Jedi.
You're just
like
a Trekkie.
I am a Trekkie. That's just true. I enjoy them. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably gonna watch them after this because you got to watch the whole trilogy.
Sure.
But but yeah, I really like A New Hope.
Yeah, I mean, I love A New Hope. Empire's probably my favorite of the trilogy or of the franchise.
I gotta ask. Everyone says that. But I never got it.
Because the story is more developed in Empire.
Is it?
A New Hope, everything is so brand new. And even though the movie's about 2 hours, it moves very fast.
Yes.
So, we get them for a little bit and it's just wow, that blew my mind. And if you can imagine for the people in 77, it's okay, now we have to wait how long until we get something else Star Wars? And because there's so much that gets put into these movies, it took a while. Not like us where we get, okay, well, we could just blow through the original franchise or trilogy and then jump onto the prequels. Mm-hmm. But
or the Disney properties now where they made new Star Wars movies every 2 years. Was that what it was?
It was about every 2 years, yeah. And now we're getting The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan I have to catch up on, but the Mandalorian is chef's kiss perfection. That is true Star Wars. I think you need to give it another chance because that really harkens back to the world of A New Hope.
I maybe again.
They go to Tatooine a lot.
I know. Well, the thing is I gave The Mandalorian the college try, but again, this is gonna get into a whole other thing.
I don't even think you gave it the college try. It was just
it
was a
really
negotiation. Oh, you watch this, I'll watch that, and you're yeah, I'm good, while I watched 8 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, so...
Look, I tried. I really did. I'm not lying about this, but here's the thing.
Christopher Lloyd's gonna be in the latest season.
Fine, I'll try. I'll try again. But, that's the thing. With, A New Hope, I think I just liked it because it was, so self-contained.
Yeah.
Because it's just a standalone movie when you watch it, right? Whereas Empire is very much a sequel that's leading into Jedi, and Jedi is capping off a trilogy that was never meant to be a trilogy.
Empire is the middle of the book, and A New Hope and Return of the Jedi are the bookends.
Yeah, but I feel A New Hope, it's its own book, because that's the thing with that I guess people don't realize about Star Wars, is in terms of when Lucas was writing it out, he never had any intention of it being this multimedia franchise that would span decades and all this stuff. That I think that's why a lot of Star Wars, when you look at it in terms of lore and the world and the universe and the deep stuff, it is an ocean that's about a foot deep. There's a lot of it, but it's not everything is developed kind of thing. But if you look at something like Lord of the Rings, Warhammer 40K, other fantasy stuff like that, it's stuff where it's pretty tight, we only really know a lot about, Middle Earth, but it's really deep kind of thing. It's a pond that's, a thousand meters deep kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been books that have been written since 77 really diving into the worlds, the planets, the lore of Star Wars, so I can't really say Star Wars isn't that deep. I haven't read every book, but the story's really, expanded and evolved since 77. So I think you just haven't really stuck your foot in too deep to that ocean of Star Wars.
Well, I did. I read some of the expanded universe stuff, like Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the Timothy Zahn trilogy that everybody says that's the true sequel to the original trilogy. I read that stuff. But the thing is I guess what I'm saying is directly from Lucas, like George Lucas.
Yeah.
He never had any real ideas of, it's like, well, what is the Force? I think if you asked George Lucas 1977, a week before the movie premieres, and you saw a rough cut, you're like, what's the Force? He probably would have just said, it's magic, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That probably would have been his answer, which is neither here nor there. Like, it's, it's a movie and it's a great work of fiction. It's a great film.
Especially when you have, Sir Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan explaining the Force, where it's everything around you just powering you, and the fact that he being a good guy is just, he uses the Force for good.
Alec Guinness is so good in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's only in it for what? He's not in a lot of the movie.
Yeah, this isn't one where I checked his roll time, because
it feels like he's in a lot of it.
Because they have him so spaced out. There he is, turning off what is it? So he's turning off stuff so the ship can get out of
orbit or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I just watched it too. But you have him running around until his final confrontation with Darth Vader, and it's just his presence is so strong, and I think that's why he's perfect for this movie. He's perfect for Empire.
He is the English actor that adds gravitas to the role.
He's just Obi-Wan.
He is. Is he the best Obi-Wan?
Oh.
Because then you have him versus Ewan McGregor. And Ewan McGregor was the Obi-Wan I grew up with, and he's in all the movies.
I can't decide. I love them both equally. I mean, we start off Obi-Wan in this movie with "Hello there." Yes. And it's just, it gave me the chills watching it last night, because it was just like, that's what we grew up with the prequels.
Yeah.
And, I trashed them for years, like, oh man, these aren't like the originals. And then it's like, I've watched them more and more.
Trasher?
I used to be, and then, growing up and watching them, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, okay. I'm like, I totally get Anakin.
You rounded back to what Lucas was going for?
Yeah, it's like, I totally understand, empathize, and, having Yoda kind of, keep preaching the same words of, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and it's just like, yeah, it's like, okay, you grow up and you see that.
This is something that's cool, because I've heard this before. The prequel trilogy is a great story with horrible execution.
Yeah, I think if they relied less on CGI and went, harkened back to the original trilogy where a lot of stuff was practical.
Well, also, if Lucas just took a step away from being like, I'm making this to make a huge step forward in the technology, and he was focused way more on the step forward in technology and less on the movie.
It's like, you already had made the big step forward with technology with the original franchise.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that, but keep going, because we're going to get back to that.
But, yeah, it's like, I felt like, a lot of people complain about Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman playing, the two lovers, and it's like, well, we don't really see the chemistry, and it's kind of like, over time, watching the movies over and over again, I can see it. I can see, this younger guy pursuing this older woman, and just the taboo of their love, because he can't be, involved. He's a Jedi. He's sworn to protect, and you don't get into any of that, So it's like, yeah, I have a lot more love for the prequels now growing up, and seeing it kind of tie in with the movie, but I feel we kind of fell off that track with the sequels.
Yeah, which is, it's so annoying how we have to phrase these, where we have the original trilogy, the prequels, and then the sequels.
Yeah.
All of them centered around the original trilogy.
But I watched a little bit of Obi-Wan. I spoiled the ending for myself, and I watched it, and I was kind of like, wow, this feels a lot like the original franchise. It's Ewan McGregor, and it's Hayden Christensen again, and I was just like, it feels like we're kind of working our way back to what the original Star Wars universe felt like before we jumped into the future.
Yeah, because, like, the original trilogy, and I wanted to make a point about the effects, this movie is impressive.
Yeah.
For what it's able to do for 1977.
Absolutely. I mean, just coming up with, let alone the creatures, but then coming up with all the camera techniques, the models, and feeling like...
all that rotoscoping that's way too good.
It feels like it's real. It doesn't feel like, oh, well, that's a toy that they're, pulling across to make it look like, it's a ship moving. It's like, no, this actually looks like something that they constructed, and it's actually moving through space.
Yeah, because I watched the original 77 version, like that doesn't have the special edition CGI bumps, but it also looks like somebody kind of rubbed it over with a little bit of sandpaper, because Lucas hates that version.
Yeah.
But you watched the one on TBS?
Yeah, so that's probably the remastered version.
Yeah, with like a couple of updated special effects and whatnot. And that... oh my god, another thing that annoys me is that this is getting to be Blade Runner levels of versions, right? Because I think there's like 3 or 4. There's like the OG version, then there's the version from like 97 that Lucas did, and that was like with all the updates.
Yeah.
And then there was another one he did when the DVDs came out that like took a step away from some of the updates he did and fucked with the special editions, but then he like still kept a lot in, and it's like really weird because I think there is like 3 or 4 different versions of the movie.
Yeah, so all I know is I watched the remastered version, and I've seen this movie a billion times because
it's Star Wars.
It's Star Wars. It's been a part of my life, my entire life, but it doesn't get old. I get excited watching it again and again. I get goosebumps in certain spots. The music, I mean, that'll be something that we talk about in this episode.
Because John Williams.
Because John Williams, and I think this was his 2nd or 3rd project after Jaws.
That sounds about right. Because the John Williams score, there's a reason they keep going back to that guy.
And I think, what is it? Is it the next Star Wars movie that's coming out? I think that's his last time that he's going to be affiliated with Star Wars music.
He's finally surprised me.
He's retiring from it, so it's just like,
because he's in his like his 70s or 80s.
He's in his 80s, I think.
Yeah, and I think he's probably doesn't want to keep being under the Disney crunch time.
Yeah, but it's just there's something special about John Williams, Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars alone is special, but I think it's everyone that had their hand in it just really made it something else.
Yeah. Which is why I don't like the remastered versions, because it feels like Lucas is kind of erasing everybody's like hard work and fingerprints on it. Like it feels like the kid who was like, oh, we had a group project, together, and we all kind of did it.
Yeah.
And then he took it home before it's due, and then he's like, that doesn't look right. And then he tried to like redo it himself. And turn that in. I
mean, that kind of sounds like something that you would do.
Oh, no, I'm way too lazy to do that.
But you're also OCD, so I could see you sitting there all night. You're like, nope, it looks perfect now.
Okay. Here's my thing with group projects. Either I am like overly involved, and I'm like, I just want to do as much as possible and do like almost all of it, or I want to be as little involved as possible and be as lazy as possible. Those are my two modes of working for these group projects in school. Well, when you were in school, how were your group projects?
I hated it.
You hated group projects?
I hated it because it was always a struggle. There was always at least 1 or 2 people that are like, okay, cool, we're part of the group, but I'm not going to do shit. So I'm going to let you guys do it, and we'll go and present, and I'll act like, oh yeah, we're part of it, and we'd be like, bitch, where?
They're the guys who are like, oh, we're having a potluck this Friday, what can you bring? And they're like, I'll bring cups.
No, I'll bring my appetite.
Oh, those guys. Those motherfuckers. I hate those people.
Exactly.
You can at least bring, like, soda, Cups.
Cups.
Bring cups. That is the lowest effort thing you could bring to like a barbecue or a potluck.
And also vital because people go through cups like nobody's business.
It's true, and no one ever writes their names on a cup.
No, so it's like
I remember there were people who used to leave their Sharpies next to like the water bottles or the cup things at parties. That Sharpie never used. There's probably
or the Sharpie would get stolen.
Oh, immediately, and then you'd write on somebody's like face when they were asleep or some such.
Sure.
Yeah. Totally didn't draw mustaches on people when they were asleep at parties. I'm not a monster.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But back to Star Wars.
Star Wars, yes, Star Wars.
So technology alone in this movie, just out of this world. Costuming was amazing. Yeah, because, I mean, it's not like in later movies where we're jumping from planet to planet. We kind of just stick with the space station, the Death Star, and Tatooine.
And Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon and the Rebel base. But it's not like other movies where we jump a little bit more. So our actors more or less stay in the same costumes. We have Mark Hamill and his...
The iconic white, like, Jedi gear.
Tunic kind of gear, yeah.
He's basically dressed like a guy from a samurai movie.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, like, you've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
Where Lucas stole, like, 90% of the movie from, like, Japanese samurai movies.
Yeah, and I mean, we see that with the lightsaber, where, you know, it's the master and his apprentice.
And handing him over the sacred sword of his father.
Yeah.
That he will use to fell his father's mortal enemy, Darth Vader.
Now, speaking of lightsabers... Do you remember a few Christmases ago you got me that big speed graphic camera?
I think so, yeah.
It was the big one. You had to put in like the film canisters and you flip them out. They're from like the 20s, the 30s.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that camera has a tie-in with this movie.
Oh, really?
It does. Because the flash on it, the base of the flash, that's what it's used for the handle of the lightsaber.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And that's why my camera is missing the flash. Because a lot of people, they'll just go and buy the flash, and you could use that as your handle, or as your grip, for the lightsaber.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, so if I had it on my camera, and if I wanted to, I could have made my own lightsaber at home.
That's badass. Well, that's the thing
and it's
with...
like, who doesn't want their own homemade lightsaber?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing with Han Solo's pistol, right?
Yeah.
Because his pistol's, like, the base of that's like a real gun.
Yeah.
Because I know Adam Savage from, like, Mythbusters, he made one, and he had, like, a few of them, and he was like, hey, these, you know, props guys back in the day were being kind of lazy, and it was a low-budget movie. When they made it, if they didn't do this certain yada yada yada, and they probably could have fired the gun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's a really cool little thing, because I think people forget that this movie, even though it looks really, like, good and, like, expensive and all this crazy stuff, like, no one had faith in this. I think this was actually a pretty cheap movie relatively to everything else coming out at the time.
Yeah, because I know they had to film some of it in Tunisia.
A lot of it's in Tunisia. Anything in the desert's Tunisia. Because, okay, here's the budget. The budget was $11 million. Actually, $11 million in 1977? That's probably...
It's a decent amount of money.
Yeah, that's probably like, you know, $100 million now. Something close to that?
Yeah, and I'm sure it made it back and then some.
Yeah, because its box office at the time was $775.8 million.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a movie ticket in 1977 was like $1 or some such.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta think, like, and people saw this movie multiple times in theaters.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know when it finally rolled out onto VHS.
Oh,
so
that had to have been another, like, almost 5-10 years.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you wanted to go see it, you gotta go back to the theater, and I'm sure after it finally made its run through the theater, it was, okay, they brought it back again, let's take the family and go see Star Wars again.
That wouldn't surprise me. I watched this thing, and it was people being interviewed when Star Wars was released, and it was some guy, and they were like, well, how many times have you seen Star Wars? And they were like, oh, I've seen it 15 times. Yeah. And then it was like another person, 22. And then it's like this whole church pastor group, and it's like, I don't know, 30, 40 people. And they're like, we have seen Star Wars 115 times. And I'm like, you had to, there's multiple showings in a day you're going to.
Yeah.
That's insane. People didn't do that for Endgame.
No, but I mean, ticket prices now aren't the same as $1.
Yeah, but money money went way farther back then. Yeah.
It did, but I mean, still, justifying $1 over, let's see, what did I pay for the Batman? I think our tickets were like $22 a piece.
Yeah, well, weren't those IMAX though?
No, we went to go see it. It was this thing that AMC did. It was like this artisanal feature. It's like they increased the prices. So it's like, paying $22 every time you go see it, or even paying $15 every time you go see the movie. That's a lot of money, but paying $1? Why not?
Yeah, I guess. It's just crazy to me because, it's like Star Wars. Like that's a huge moment for the 70s with everybody going to see it. It became everyone went to go see it.
I mean, don't you have a family story?
Yes, I do. My mom, she went to go see Star Wars at a specialty screening 2 weeks before the movie premiered. So she got to see it at the, I believe it was the Chinese theater in LA 2 weeks before Star Wars premiered. And she was like, it blew me away. It was insane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be a Star Wars fan 2 weeks before the rest of the country. You were living in the future.
Yeah.
Right? You saw the world differently after that.
She was just sitting there waiting for the boom that would happen once Star Wars was unleashed upon the public.
Yeah. But that's the thing about Star Wars, right? You see the movie. It's the biggest thing. It's like the biggest thing ever. It's so different from everything else you've ever seen up to that point.
Yeah.
And then, you look at it now. We have movies that dwarf Star Wars' box office, right? Yeah. Even adjusted for inflation, like there's movies that just make more money. Titanic made more money. Avatar made more money. Avatar is the best example. Avatar is the highest grossing film ever made. It is going to have a sequel this year
that not too many people care about.
It was the biggest movie. Everyone saw it. It was nominated for Oscars. It won Oscars. That movie has a negative cultural impact. Not like, oh, it's bad for culture. It's just that footprint does not exist.
No. It wasn't a movie that, at the time when I saw it being advertised, I was like, oh, I have to go see it. I was just like, okay, whatever.
Did you see it?
No, I've never seen it.
You've never seen Avatar?
No, I've never had the desire, the want to go see it. And it's like, oh, the sequel came out or is coming out like 15 years later. It's like, still don't really care. It's like, okay.
I think that's the biggest problem is they waited 15 years to make a new sequel. And I get it. They wanted to make, Avatar's biggest thing was it was this huge leap in, cinema technology because they propelled everything to IMAX.
Yeah.
And every theater had to switch over to it if they wanted Avatar. And it was a James Cameron movie, so they knew it was going to make money.
I mean, Avatar was a big enough deal that Disney has it at one of its theme parks.
Yep.
It's at Animal Kingdom, I believe.
I think so, which I wonder if they regret that buy deal.
I don't know.
I think they made that deal right after the movie came out.
I don't know, because, a lot of people enjoy that park, let alone, but enjoy that section where it's just Avatar, and I've seen it in a lot of vlogs, like Paging Miss Tomorrow, Super Enthused, and it's just like, I've never been really into the Orlando parks, but after seeing it in their vlogs, I'm like, well, that looks cool. It's like, maybe I'll give the movie a watch so I understand, because it's just the way that they have the world set up is very beautiful, and it's like, okay, you kind of have my interest piqued a little bit. But do I still want to see the movie? Not really.
Well, the thing is with Avatar is it's a pretty movie. I won't take it away from it. It is a very, very pretty movie.
Yeah, seeing it in the vlog, seeing, the rides that are inspired by the movie, I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous. I don't really care about the characters. It's just I'm interested in seeing the world.
And that's the thing. That's the thing everybody gets to on Avatar is it's really pretty, but it's just Dances with Wolves or Pocahontas or whatever thing you want to say. It's like an okay story. It's just not super interesting, but it's really cool to look at. And speaking of cool to look at, your mom got to see somebody very cool when she went to go see Star Wars in 77. See, rounding it back.
We did. And my mom also went to go see it at the Chinese theater. She took her younger brother, my uncle, to go see it. He, I think, was 10 at the time. So perfect audience,
to see Star
Wars, because a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be like a kid's movie. And it was just, no, everybody loved this movie, no matter what age.
It was still a little bit of a kid's movie.
tiny bit.
It's a little bit of a kid's movie.
Tiny
There's
Ewoks
Ewoks in the third one. This is
that's
a kid's trilogy.
That's the third movie. That's not the first movie.
This is a trilogy
But
of kids movies.
yeah, my mom went to go see it with my uncle opening weekend, and before the movie started, she went to go take a bathroom break and noticed that there was a bunch of security around the bathrooms, and she was like, well, I don't know if something happened, but I gotta go. So she's like, excuse me, can I get through? And they let her through, and Muhammad Ali walks out of the men's restroom, and she's just kind of starstruck. And, I think he said hello to her or something as he passed her by, and she was just like, he is the most beautiful man I've ever seen.
Seeing prime Muhammad Ali.
Prime Muhammad Ali there for Star Wars. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, this movie is already great. It's amazing. But that's going to make your experience that much more amazing.
You were this close to having Muhammad Ali be your father. This close.
So close.
But yeah.
It would have been, boo, I am your father. Like, I am the greatest.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Nah, but I mean, that's cool. I mean, we've gone to a lot of, opening day screenings, and man, we've never run into anyone that cool before.
Oh, God, no. But that's the thing, like, okay, back to the thing about Star Wars, the culture and the impact and all this other stuff.
Well,
because everyone, I don't know many people who hate on A New Hope. I know people who just blanket are like, I do not like Star Wars, like blanketly.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, I just don't like the fandom, or I don't like what it has become, Yeah. It was meant to save nerddom, not destroy it. But
yeah, I mean, I have a friend, I think she saw one of the sequel movies. Mm-hmm. And just because someone was like, oh, hey, I'm going to put it on, just sit here and watch it with me. I've tried to get her to watch The Mandalorian. I've tried to get her to watch the original trilogy. And she's like, well, I've seen one. I should be good, right? And I'm like, no, you need to watch A New Hope and let that whet your appetite and then move on.
I'm honestly of the opinion that New Hope, that's all you need to just understand Star Wars.
I mean, to understand
Star Wars. Like, if you like A New Hope, I think New Hope's the top end of the franchise, of the entirety of Star Wars. It's the top end. Everything else is maybe not diminishing returns, because I do think, like, Empire and Jedi are good films, but New Hope is a great film. And then everything else is degrees of okay to bad.
Yeah, I mean, Empire is, I think, always going to be my favorite, and then A New Hope's right beneath it. Mm-hmm. It's just, there's a lot more story. It gets, more compelling, because it's just this, okay, well, why did Obi-Wan let Vader kill him? It's like, we get, really the full scope of what's going on behind the scenes, learning more about Jedi culture. Because, I mean, they call Obi-Wan a wizard. Uncle Owen's like, oh, that crazy wizard. And it's just like, you see him with the robe, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, I can understand why, oh, yeah, he looks like a wizard. And then, seeing it's like, okay, this is really what the Jedi are.
Well, that's the other thing is, this movie is really, really smart, because I think that's what a lot of, like, sci-fi and fantasy things mess up now, is they go really deep, and we exist in our own lore and our own culture, and we create it out of the ether, and this is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what the fuck's a Numenorian from Lord of the Rings? If I tell you, what is a Numenorian?
I'd have no idea.
They're the ancient race of man that is the descendants would be someone like Aragorn, son of Arathorn, king of Rohan.
It's like saying, what are midichlorians?
What are midichlorians, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, you say that, it's like, what the fuck does that mean? But when I say, what's a Jedi Knight? He's a knight of some sort of order, and he is, protector or something.
Of the Republic.
Of a republic or kingdom or something like that. A Jedi Knight, I get that. When he says, oh, that old wizard up on the thing, it's like, okay, so there's some sort of, like, magic fantasy thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, they can move things with their mind with the power of the Force. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the Force is, but I understand it. It lets you move things. You can, like, hand wave people with weak wills. Mm-hmm. It's magic.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. It's just magic. Mm-hmm. And then I think with the prequels, when they tried to explain it, then that is just diminishing, like, the original trilogy. That's what I think that's my issue with a lot of Star Wars, is they try to explain the things we don't want explained. I don't want to know what the Force is. I don't care what the Force is. I know what it is. It's magic.
Yeah,
it is something.
It's, kind of give us a little bit of it and then just let our imagination kind of build the rest of it. Because it's like, I don't need to know, X, Y, and Z of it. It's just, believe in the Force. It's basically, trusting your own instincts, letting, your body kind of take over. And it's like, okay, it's like, I like knowing that, just trust your gut.
Yeah.
And, instead of, you're born with the midichlorians, or you don't have them and you're not a Jedi. Well, it's like, but I want to believe in the Force. I want to, I want to help.
Yeah. Or the other thing, like, with the... God damn it, midichlorians just get me on a whole tangent that I just really, really do not like midichlorians. And I'm probably so late to the party on that one. Midichlorians are just weird and don't make a whole lot of sense. But with the Force and, like, the magics and all this other stuff, I think that's something the movie is very smart in doing, because it's using these things and these terms or whatever, and it seems really fantastical. But you as the audience understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You understand, okay, wizards, knights, evil king, and this, it's a fantasy story. I can understand a basic fantasy story, and I'm just watching this farm boy find out, you're the son of one of these, and you're the last of the Jedi Order, and you need to rise up to defeat the king,
the evil king,
and the only way to do that is by destroying his
kingdom,
his castle. And it's like, that is the most baseline hero's journey you can get. And that's the beauty of Star Wars, is it's this beautiful pastiche.
Yeah.
It is fantasy. It is Tolkien-esque fantasy. It is Buck Rogers sci-fi. It is samurai cool, and it is like Old West gunslingers and pirates, and it is all the coolest shit that a young George Lucas thought was cool that he threw into a movie, and Star Wars came out.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to tie in with Pandora being at Disney.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people had a big issue when Disney bought Star Wars. And it was just, you're going to change it. It's not going to be Star Wars. And then they were going to bring it to the parks, and people were upset, you're just commercializing Star Wars. When
it's already commercialized.
I know, but they liked that it was like its own, universe. It was its own thing. It's like, we don't need it to be, streamlined with Disney. It just needs to be its own entity.
They didn't want Marvelification for Disney.
Exactly.
Or with Star Wars, because once Disney bought the Marvel movies, and we got, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it was the biggest thing ever, and everyone was super hyped about it. But the Marvel properties became very much... They stopped being, like, movies and started turning into products very quickly. And it became an issue where it's like, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is far too much. Like, I love ice cream, but you're giving me way too much ice cream.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with Star Wars, is when... do you remember, like, right before Episode 1 came out, and everybody was hyped to shit, and they're I've been waiting for Star Wars for so long. There was, like, the one guy who was dying of cancer.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
his wish was, I want to see the Phantom Menace before I die. And Lucas was like, yeah, I can show you a rough cut. That sounds cool. And could you imagine, like, that's, people are like, I need to see Star Wars.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
And now, in the year of our Lord, 2020-something, people are like, I have too much Star Wars. There's too much Star Wars coming out.
Yeah, I mean,
Can we roll it back?
Even with the sequels, they all came out around my birthday.
Yeah.
So it's like, each birthday, I went to go see the next installment, and it's like, even if
we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, even if it wasn't my favorite of the franchise, I still had a good time because it's Star Wars. But bringing it back to Disney, people were upset that it was going to be brought into the park and be like Pandora. And I was like, okay, let's see. It took me a while to actually go see it, because, Disney and prices and stuff like that.
And when they opened Star Wars Land, they had a 2-week waiting.
Yeah, having to select reservations and trying to, get in with that wave. So you were with me the first time we went to go see Batu, the fictional planet. And, I'd seen it in vlogs and in pictures, and I was hyped, but I'm like, watch, I'm going to get there, and it's going to feel like a theme park, kind of small. And just walking into there, I mean, I think I almost cried. I almost cried.
You were about to be a Disney adult.
I was. I was so close, because, I mean, walking through the marketplace, I'm like, okay, this feels very Star Wars. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And then getting to where the Falcon's set up, And, you just have the steam coming out of the vents of the Falcon, and I was just like, oh my god, these movies that I've loved my whole life are, are real now. I could touch them. It's just like, wow, this is a life-altering experience, because it's right in my hands.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it would be like you going to New Zealand to see where the Hobbit's setup is.
Look, I've made this promise to myself: before I die, I will step foot in Hobbiton. I don't care if I'm 95 and it's fucking bulldozed over. I'm gonna see Hobbiton before I die. God damn it.
Yeah, so that's how I felt, stepping in there. It was just like, wow, this franchise of movies, with good versus evil, and even the evil being kind of cool, because it's Darth Vader. How could, anyone hate Darth Vader? It's like, he's the destroyer of planets and, so many people, but it's like, it's Darth Vader. It's like, this is awesome.
Honestly, that's a good thing to bring up, because this franchise, this movie, Star Wars, it is held on to people for decades.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's like another set of YouTubers I watch, Ordinary Adventures, Peter and Kitra. They love Star Wars. I think their first video on YouTube was actually going to Batu when they were doing like the press media coverage. So they went and they did like their first vlog, and that was my experience of seeing that part of the park for the first time. And it was just like seeing it for the first time through people who also love Star Wars, and seeing them get choked up. And it's just like, it doesn't matter, how old you are, what you're doing in life. It's like Star Wars just is special to a lot of people. And it was kind of nice that it wasn't just only me that felt choked up. They were choked up. I mean, they've gone to, what is it? It's like the new hotel over in Orlando that's just like dedicated to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's really expensive, but I mean, you're immersed.
I could imagine
into the world of it. And it's just, specialty foods, characters, they put you on secret missions, and it's just like, that is awesome. If I had the money, I'd probably go do it just to experience what it's like to live in Star Wars for a couple of days.
And that's the thing, because it all starts with this movie.
Yes.
And with Star Wars, New Hope, 77, however you want to call it, Star Wars, it's a movie that when I watched it now, because I hadn't seen it in since Force Awakens came out 5-6 years ago. Like, I watched all the movies leading up to it, and I was like, all right, because I started with Phantom Menace and worked all the way up to Return of the Jedi, and I was going in for Force Awakens because I ain't gonna lie, I was fucking hyped. Finally, new Star Wars after fucking 20 years.
We went and saw that for my birthday.
Yes, we did. We had a great time. We were like, it's just A New Hope. And then a few, years go by, and I think back on it, and I watched Force Awakens again. I'm like, no, this is just A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's, oh, God. But, so, I rewatched it, and I honestly was thinking, I haven't seen it in so long, it's probably not as good as I remember.
Yeah.
Because a lot of life stuff, I'm like, my interest had kind of changed, I'm a way bigger Star Trek fan baseline, like, that's way more what I'm into, like, space western versus, space fantasy.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know all, the critique and all that stuff, what people think of Star Wars, why they're, it's great, and why it's bad, or why it's not as good as you remember. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and see how it goes. And I watch it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I completely understand why people love this. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is. So Jaws is, the first blockbuster, quote-unquote. Every blockbuster takes cues from Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is probably the biggest template by which all other blockbusters steal from.
Absolutely.
And watching it, I'm like, this captures the imagination in a way I don't think other movies did. And I think that's why I don't like so much of the rest of Star Wars. Because it takes away my ability for my imagination to run wild in the universe.
Yeah.
That's my issue with Star Wars as a whole. Because the first movie, I think, is great. It might be a masterpiece. It might be actually one of the greatest films ever made.
It is.
It's on the AFI 100. It could be the top 10 greatest films ever made. But everything else after that, again, ranges from really good, maybe great, to pretty bad or not very good at all.
But I love it all.
I mean, I understand. This is where we come to here, I'm whatever, but we can both agree. New Hope is great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything that makes New Hope is great, but just the fact that, from characters, music, set designs, the fact that all of those things are great on their own, it's just like, you'd think, oh, okay, this one thing is lacking in it. No.
Like,
everything's on the same level. It's just like, wow, I don't know how you did it with a lot of, struggle because it's the 70s and technology isn't the same that it is today.
And George Lucas has never been an actor's director. He's you can even tell, like, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, they're working, they're doing their damnedest as an actor, but you can tell Lucas is not giving them a whole lot of direction.
No, and I think we've seen that in documentaries where they ask him and he's just like, well, try doing it different, I guess. And they're like, well, how do you mean? I don't know, just differently than you did it right now. So it took a lot of them as actors to, okay, let me really dig down deep and see what I can add to it. And it's just like, you get the rawness in this movie.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love this movie so much. This is like, it's Star Wars. It's, it's not sleek and it's not clean. It's actually kind of gritty and a little rough around the edges.
Yeah.
It feels like a movie that was made by some, like, film school brats that just came into a lot of money and was like, dude, let's make Buck Rogers with samurais in space. Let's just fucking do that, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's how this movie feels to me, and I love it for that.
Oh, absolutely. It's awesome. It came out amazing. I mean, I could watch this movie over and over. I try to not, because I don't want it to become like, oh, well, yeah, I just watched it the other day.
Is it the thing with me in Back to the Future?
Kind of.
Where it's like, I know if I go too deep into the well will run dry, but I need to keep this well sacred. I need to be able to come back to this in the dark times.
I mean, I watched this, I think, a year ago, because I think last May the 4th, I watched the movies all the way through.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You literally texted me, what is it, like, May 3rd, 11:59. I'm like, and you were like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to text you tomorrow watching Star Wars.
I think I started my way from Phantom Menace all the way to Last Skywalker, whatever the last one that came out in the theater was.
Yeah, because I know you watched every Star Wars movie in, like, the day.
Everything, yeah.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah, it was a long day, but I love Star Wars, so it was kind of worth. But, I mean, coming back into this, I know the quotes, I know what's gonna happen, but every time I see that cantina scene, you better believe I'm gonna be bopping to the cantina band. Yeah, exactly. Or, I'm gonna be sitting there, these aren't the droids you're looking for.
You do that to me all the time.
I know.
I'm like, hey, Boo, what time is it? It's not the droids you were looking for. I'm like, can you, what, no, I just want to know what time it is. Not the droids you're looking for. I'm like, please just give me an answer.
Hello there.
Exactly. Hello there.
But I think we need to talk about the music.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we're like 50 minutes into this. We should probably talk about the actual movie.
All right, you give the elevator pitch of what the movie's about. If people haven't seen the movie after how many years? It just celebrated an anniversary.
I think it's like 50 something.
Almost 50. I think it's 47.
I don't know.
It's something. I know we just did a post about it not too long ago.
So, Star Wars is the story of Luke Skywalker discovering that he is more than just a farm boy on Tatooine. He discovers that he is actually the son of a Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker. And through the guidance of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the help of the roguish smuggler Han Solo, he is able to go and save the beautiful and fierce Princess Leia from the clutches of Darth Vader and the Emperor.
I think you're forgetting a couple characters.
With the help of Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO.
There you go.
And through those, he is able to join the rebellion, blow up the Death Star, and save the world. Scene. That is Star Wars in a nutshell.
That is.
Yeah. And yeah, that is Star Wars in a nutshell. If you haven't seen it, you probably should. And there's a lot of great things about it. We'll start with the music, and then we'll go from there, because the music is a whole character in this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let alone having the opening crawl.
Yeah, which is stolen right from Ben-Hur, another part of the pastiche.
It is, but Star Wars just did it so well. I mean, anytime I've seen a Star Wars movie in the theater, just getting that punch of the Star Wars theme, it's like, hair goes up on your arms, just like, yes, this is gonna be awesome, it's Star Wars. It's just, it gets you right on the feels. I mean, we have Luke's theme, which is the Force theme.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's so inspiring.
It's very iconic.
Iconic, inspiring. It just makes you want to get up and do something, because it's just like, wow, like, he was able to...
You hear that and you're just like, fuck yeah, let's get shit done.
Exactly. I mean, we have...
the Imperial March.
We have the Imperial March. We don't have Vader's theme in this movie.
Yeah, because that's in Empire, isn't it?
Yeah, Vader gets his own theme in Empire. So it's like, we get the Imperial March, and then that shifts into Vader's theme in Empire when it's really robust and bombastic. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you just feel it. It's like, okay, the Empire's coming. And, Princess Leia's theme. It's, kind of soft. It gets a little adventurous, when Luke and Leia are trying to get from one side of the ship to the other, and the walkway isn't there. So
and at that moment, you can tell that Lucas did not plan for this to be a trilogy, because they kiss right there.
Yeah.
And you're just like, are they brother and sister?
What?
Because Leia's making some eyes at Luke, alright?
I mean, Mark Hamill is pretty cute. But then you have, Harrison Ford, and it's like...
Is this booze like, oh my... You guys are starting to challenge some of the other hotties on the list. Are they beating Skeet Ulrich in his prime?
Harrison Ford, yeah.
Young Harrison Ford beats your 90s Skeet Ulrich crush?
Hell yeah, I love Harrison Ford.
Okay,
but
I got points to bring up about Harrison Ford, but let's finish with the music.
But, yeah, I mean, the music is its own character entity, and it only expands throughout. Mm-hmm. And I think... Because, I mean, I love Princess Leia's theme. It's beautiful. It's iconic. But when she passed, Carrie Fisher, what was it, like...
it was like 2 years ago, I think.
2 or 3 years ago. I think they were having the Star Wars convention that they have here in Anaheim. And John Williams came out, and he had, his orchestra with him. And they did a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and they played, Princess Leia's theme. Oh, that broke me.
Oh, I was just, you were done?
I was done. I was just like, it was already heartbreaking losing Carrie Fisher and Debbie Fisher.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then seeing that, I was just like, no.
Boo's bawling her eyes out.
Oh, yeah. I was a wreck. I was just like, okay, but this is still so beautiful at the same time. Like, I can't.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, this movie, again, super iconic. I gotta say iconic a million times, because it is.
It is.
But, like, Princess Leia... Or Carrie Fisher, she passed away. Mm-hmm. Harrison Ford's like 82?
80. He just celebrated yesterday.
Yeah, his 80th birthday. I think Mark Hamill's in his 70s.
Yeah.
And, that's gonna be a dark day in nerddom when they finally move on to the green hills with the white sand beaches.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring this up about Harrison Ford, right? Harrison Ford fucking hates Han Solo.
Yeah.
He absolutely despises playing Han Solo.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why he hates the character so much when he's so cool.
Well, the other thing is he hates Han Solo but loves Indiana Jones.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I wonder why that is. Is it a thing? Because we were talking about a minute ago that George Lucas, not an actor's director, he's not a fan. But I wonder if that's why Han Solo or Harrison Ford just doesn't like being Han Solo, is because it's just really difficult because he has to do almost all the work. Because how are you, a new director, going to tell Harrison Ford how to play Han Solo?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, Han Solo in A New Hope, he's just playing every, like, Western, like, anti-hero scoundrel you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because the cantina scene is just so fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, versus, like, working with Steven Spielberg, where Spielberg really knows how to talk to his actors and really get the person into character, and I think that's probably another reason why, he's quoted, "I'm the only one that's gonna play Indiana Jones until I die."
I mean, like...
The new movie comes out next year, I think.
Did they actually get Chris Pratt to play Indiana Jones? Was that, like, a real thing, or is that a meme?
No, I mean, Harrison Ford's.
Okay.
Yeah, the next movie's coming out, I think, next year with Harrison Ford.
Oh, shit. Okay, because I remember that was something people were talking about was, oh, they're going to reboot Indiana Jones and have Chris Pratt play him.
Yeah, they had people Photoshop his face over Harrison Ford's, and it worked. I was like, oh, okay, you look, rugged, you could be Indy, and then Harrison Ford's like, no, absolutely not. I am Indiana Jones.
He's like, there's a reason Shia LaBeouf didn't take on the mantle after the masterpiece that is Crystal Skull.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, the hat landed between my feet. That's a sign. I'm going to be the next Indy. And Harrison Ford's like, yeet, I don't think so.
God, that's another thing. Like, we had Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Mm.
That was a movie that happened. And I'm like, what? Why did that happen? Was that just a money-grubbing thing? Did Harrison Ford really want to be Indy one more time?
I'm in the camp that I liked Crystal Skull.
You only like it because it was just another Indiana Jones film. It was not a good movie.
It had Marion. They finally got married. It's in the 50s. There's a biker gang. There's fighting.
It is not a good film. It just has characters you like in it.
I don't care. I still enjoyed it. I don't care.
These are the arguments we have. Boo, it's not a good film, but it had Indy in it. It's not a good movie.
I still liked it.
I understand. I understand.
And I will fight you.
I guess. I will back down under threat of death. But Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not a good movie.
I still liked it. But let's jump on to some of our non-living characters in this film, because droids are a big thing in this universe.
Yes, and they are the opening of the film. Pretty much. They are the characters we meet first, we follow first, that we have a connection first with R2-D2 and C-3PO. And R2-D2 is great, even though we don't understand him. And C-3PO is the giant golden douche of Star Wars.
I mean, the love that people have for R2-D2, I am one of them.
Of course.
Is just... It's heartwarming because people love him so much. You don't understand a word he says. My grandmother, who hardly spoke English, even though she knew how to speak it, she was stubborn.
Refused.
She refused. She was a stubborn woman. She loved her Arturito. Arturito. Absolutely loved him. I mean, there was a meme I saw. I hope it's true, but someone was like, he's like, yeah, my name's, Arturo. My parents, they named me that, blah, blah, blah. And then one year they're like, yeah, we named you because of Star Wars. And he's like, well, who's Arturo? And no one's Arturo. And so he goes, no, Arturito. He goes, you named me after R2-D2? She's like, yeah, Arturito. And it's just like, it's a thing in my culture where we pronounce it Arturito.
Oh,
and it's just like,
Lord.
I'm like, that is awesome. That is awesome.
I think people love R2-D2 so much because he is so reminiscent of, like, the cute animal or the cute sidekick, right?
Yeah.
You can't understand him, but he's small and he rolls around and he has a personality.
He has a personality. His scream is hilarious when they shock him, and he goes flying, and just his, he's constantly fighting with C-3PO, which I can't remember the actor who plays C-3PO.
Oh, Anthony Daniels, I believe.
Anthony Daniels, who does a great job of playing against R2-D2. And it's just, they're constantly bickering, constantly fighting. But anytime that they're going to be separated, it's like, you can't separate us. This is my best friend.
I mean...
But I can't stand you a majority of the time.
What is it? I think Anthony Daniels still insists on playing C-3PO in every appearance.
Yeah, I think he has.
I think he's like one of the only actors to be in every Star Wars film. I'm pretty sure he's the only one.
Yeah, and I think Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, just passed recently.
Did he?
I think so. I think he passed a couple of years after Peter Mayhew.
Oh, Peter Mayhew passed away?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, he passed away a couple of years ago. I can't remember if it was during the pandemic or before. Yeah, so Kenny Baker passed away in 2016.
At 81?
Yeah, 2019, right before the pandemic.
I met Peter Mayhew at a con.
Yeah, he passed. I don't know where you've been.
I don't know. I'm not caught up on Star Wars lore. Hell, most of the cast from the original Star Trek's still kicking.
I know, but...
William Shatner went to space.
He did.
Recently. He's the oldest man to ever been in space.
I know.
Which also, fuck yeah. Like, Captain Kirk got to go for one last ride. Let's go.
But yeah, we have a lot of droids in this movie. We have, what was it, the mouse droid that's on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Where it's just like, why does that exist?
But I love it.
Yeah, I'm so down with this existing. But that's the thing. The movie is tapping into your childhood mind so hard that it's like, oh, this is just awesome. It's getting lost in the fantasy. I mean, it's like, why is there a mouse droid? I don't know, but I like it.
I mean, to go back to like Ordinary Adventures, they went to one of the Star Wars nights at Disneyland, and they brought out R2 and C-3PO so you could do like a photo op, and people were flocking to go take pictures with them. And it's like, I would be one of those people. I mean, when we went to Batuu, they had that R2 that you could buy in the droid shop.
You were trying
real
hard to get that.
That thing was like $25,000 because it was full scale, and you could actually, I don't know if you could work it with your phone or it had its own remote.
It was like Bluetooth and it interacted with stuff at the park. But I remember you were like, I wonder how much like scratch I can get together if I sold some stuff.
I mean, I think I hugged it, even though it was like turned off. It was in a corner, but I was just like, oh my god, this is R2D2. R2D2. I had to. It slips.
There's some things that no matter what it is, you will pronounce with a Spanish accent.
I can't help it.
Like salsa.
I will not say it.
You'll not say it?
I'm not going to say it.
You're not going to say it?
But yes.
Salsa?
No, R2D2.
R2D2.
I just, there's something about him. He's just, he's metal, he's a machine, but he has so much character, so much heart. And we see that, throughout the franchise of just how much of a ham he is.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing. Like R2D2 and C-3PO, they're comedic relief.
Yeah.
They're the two funny characters that we follow around that are superfluous to the story. They're not actually affecting things like, they're not the main characters, but they're the sidekicks that we as the audience attach to and follow. Mm-hmm. And with Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO, C-3PO is the most, like, stuck up, like, oh, I'm a proper gentleman, and I'm just so flabbergasted by everything going on here. It's like, how are we going to go through those? Oh, it's 1,515 to 1. We're going to survive this. Never tell me the odds. Like,
never tell me the odds.
And it's so funny, their dynamic, even though we only understand one of them.
Yeah.
C-3PO is the straight man, R2-D2, it's the Laurel and Hardy thing.
Exactly.
That's what they are. And we get to follow them as they just walk through laser beams at the beginning of the movie.
And it's so hilarious. You have, this gun battle happening between the rebels and the Empire, and they're just, excuse me, pardon me, and, they never get winged or anything. They're totally fine.
You just get on the escape pod and just...
free. Which is also, a kick at the Empire that, they can't get a single shot off at their target.
Isn't there a thing where they created an in-canon reason why the stormtroopers have terrible
It's the helmets.
Aim? Is that what it is?
Yeah, because remember when when Luke and Han get into the outfits, when they're trying to get to Princess Leia, I don't know if it's Luke or Han that says it. They're like, I can barely see anything because the eye holes are just so far apart, and they wouldn't be where your eyes are naturally sitting. So it's like, well, yeah, how are you going to shoot at your target in front of you if your helmet's blocking?
You have no peripheral vision.
No.
That explains why you see the stormtrooper run into the door.
Or when they shoot out the wall, when they're shooting at Han and a couple of them fall through the wall because it's just like, okay, I can't see anything, but I'm tripping over the wall and I'm down. It's just like...
it's really funny how, like, you can tell some of the set is, like, really cheap.
Yeah.
Like, when they're, like, they bump into the wall or they bump into the door and you see it just move just a little bit, and you're like, oh, that's just some plywood. Ooh, somebody was probably real mad you walked into that. It's great. But after we meet, C-3PO, R2-D2, then we meet the man of the hour.
Yes.
Luke Skywalker. I was gonna come up with a middle name, but he doesn't have a middle name. He's just Luke Skywalker.
Luke the Force Skywalker.
The Force Skywalker. Almost called Starkiller.
Almost,
so close.
We get Starkiller in later movies.
Yeah. I mean, and it's played by Mark Hamill, and I gotta ask, is this Mark Hamill's best role performance? Because I think this is gonna be so weird, him as the Joker, I think he is actually that is probably a much better performance, and I think he has probably established himself as a bigger icon playing the Joker than he has as Luke Skywalker. I don't know if that's true, but I think it is. I think he's just a better actor playing the Joker than he is as playing Luke Skywalker.
I don't know. I mean,
that's a toss-up because he is completely taken over as the Joker.
He's magnificent in anything he's in.
I can show you some bad Mark Hamill
movies. He's in an episode of The Big Bang Theory, and I was just like, this is just amazing. And even, the way they wrote it, the cast is just amazed by him. And it's like, I have a feeling they didn't really have to act too hard because it's Mark Hamill.
You gotta say it right. Mark fucking Hamill.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, even from a young age watching this movie, I totally empathized with Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. I felt like him, just kind of trapped. And just wanting to, be able to go off and do my own thing. And having it be tragedy that finally, kind of took him away from where he was stuck. Mm-hmm. It's just, from there on, he's been the symbol of hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Superman, mm-hmm. where Superman, he's from planet Krypton, crash lands, and he's raised by surrogate parents mm-hmm. to grow up to, represent truth, justice, and the American way. When you break down Luke Skywalker, he's a kid mm-hmm. living on a farm. Like, it's a farm, right?
Yeah.
And it's in the middle of nowhere, and his dad, parents, whatever, they're not in the picture. Like, mom died, dad's off fighting the Empire, or he's dead.
No, he's dead.
Yeah, that's what they tell him?
Yeah, like, yeah. Your dad died a long time ago.
Yeah. He died both his parents are dead, and he's being raised by his aunt and uncle, mm-hmm. and then he gets roused into basically just joining the army or the rebellion, fighting against this overpowerful, like, tyrannical dictatorship, yeah. right? And that's why I think a lot of people compare this to, like, war movies. Mm-hmm. I know people try and say, oh, Star Wars, bruh, Star Wars at the heart of it, it's just an allegory for Vietnam, man. Where Luke Skywalker is like the Vietnam and the Empire's America, and it's the rebellion versus the Empire. And I've heard that critical analysis a lot.
Yeah, I'd rather compare it to, like, Superman.
So we'll go with Superman?
We'll go Superman, because, it makes the most sense. You're on this planet.
That is just Kansas, just desert.
Basically, you don't know who your real parents are, and you're just, that this isn't supposed to be your life. Your life is supposed to be something bigger.
And you find out that you are not only different than everybody else, mm-hmm. but you are special.
And you're the last of your kind.
The last of your kind. You're the last of the Jedi Order. You have these magical powers, this fantastical ability. You can move things with your mind. You can influence people around you. You are gifted the magical sword that is the lightsaber that no other person could ever properly utilize except for a Jedi Knight. It's literally, again, it's part of the pastiche yeah. of the film, where it's taking these other things of pulp culture and film and in myth and lore mm-hmm. and combining it together. And I think Luke Skywalker's journey, the hero's arc he is on, the hero's journey he's on, is so good. That's one thing about the original trilogy throughout it that I love, is Luke's journey. He rises up as, like, the ideal of the rebellion. He is the hero.
Yeah.
Goes from nothing, becomes the hero. Then through Empire, he is laid low. He is the hero who is now, like, fallen. Mm-hmm. He finds out, the enemy he's fighting is truly his father, and he's the lowest he can become. And then Return of the Jedi, he is slipping even farther into the dark side.
Yeah.
And then it's the point at his lowest, he needs to decide, does he be the hero, or does he be the villain?
Yeah.
Does he, be the villain and make life easier, or does he become the hero and go the hard way, but it'll be better for everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. And then they ruin it with the sequel trilogy. Ruin Luke's character. And I know people defend that because he's, yeah. But I think Luke's arc in this is fantastic.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I know they kind of change up his character in the sequels, but I feel like Luke is still very much there.
Yeah, it's definitely still in the line.
It's in the line. I mean, I was heartbroken when they kill Han Solo off. I mean,
did you cry next to me in the theater?
I would have, but it got spoiled, like, I think a couple hours before we went to go see the movie.
That was your first mistake. You know what I did leading up to Star Wars? I turned my phone off and left it home for 3 days.
I thought you broke your phone and buried it.
No, but I did. I turned off all my computer. I didn't go on the internet for like 2 or 3 days. I had to go media silent. It was getting dark.
Yeah, I probably would have. If I hadn't been spoiled, definitely would have lost it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how these characters are. I mean, they hook you in, and they feel like real people. It's like, we were talking about the droids and how much, character and charisma they have. Same with the characters, same with the creatures. It's like, we don't understand what Chewbacca's saying, but we absolutely love him.
That's what he's saying.
Let the Wookiee win.
Let the Wookiee win?
Let the Wookiee win.
But after we have, Luke, we get into the gallery of his friends, the roguish types.
Yeah.
Han fucking Solo.
Absolutely.
Who's the coolest smuggler this side of the galaxy.
Definition of cool.
Definition of cool.
Definition of cool.
The leather vest with the leather knee-high boots. That's cool for you.
And the cool blue pants with the stripes on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Han shot first.
People got to realize Han shot first. Han's a bad guy. And then it, develops into the thing where, no, Han's a not good guy, but he's got a heart of gold. He's the guy who will always come back for a friend,
Mm-hmm.
He'll walk out of the room, but he'll be like, God damn it, and he'll go back. That's Han Solo.
Never tell me the odds.
So that line right there, that's the line that cemented Han Solo in pop culture as the cool guy of history, right?
Or when they're getting their medals at the end of the movie, and he gives Princess Leia that wink. That's just like, that's right.
That's right. You're like, I know what's going on here. This is happening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Your fanfic show has already been written.
I mean, no, I don't dabble in that.
Not yet. But, we get Han, we get Chewie, and again, they're the rogues gallery.
Yeah. We have Leia.
Oh, yeah. Leia, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. The woman that launched 1,000 boys' wet dreams.
That would be the next movie.
Oh, was that the one with Jabba? With Jabba's Bikini Palace?
Yeah.
No, that was Jedi. That was Jedi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it opens like that. Because Han's in carbonite, and yeah.
But she's still, She
yes.
And she's like, ooh, she's a princess. Like, okay. I mean, we have this in That 70s Show where it's, part of Eric's story throughout the entire series where he's just like...
madly in love with Carrie Fisher.
Well, that and just obsessed with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking out, like, the old Darth Vader, like, toy box where you could put all your Kenner action figures in. Which we saw one of those... What was that, Tuesday?
Yeah, we saw it the other day at some, like, swap meet deal.
And I mean, I think I've only seen them behind glass. I've never actually gotten to touch one with my own hands, so I was just like... You
got to play with it for a minute?
It's like, I've seen these in documentaries, and I think my uncle had them. He had, like, all the Star Wars toys, the stickers, like, the Topps cards. So I was like, wow, I've never actually gotten to touch one of these with my own hands. So I went, and I'm like, it's kind of heavy. I'm like, no, this can't be. So I popped it open, and there were characters in each slot. I was like, oh my god, I hit the gold mine. I should have asked the guy how much he wanted for that.
You probably would have been like $50. Probably
less, because he gave us a really good deal on the stuff that we got.
Yeah.
We gotta go back.
Probably. But yeah, and it's just a thing where it's like, it's so hard to talk about the movie because fucking it's Star Wars. I feel like everyone's seen this, or everyone has like an idea of what's going on.
I mean, its footprint is just cemented in pop culture. Where Family Guy did, what was it like?
Blue Harvest.
Yeah,
which was the whole Family Guy parodies of it. I know
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs is just a parody of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That movie, Spaceballs. People might want to go back and rewatch it. Because it's actually doesn't hold up nearly as well as you think. Blazing Saddles holds up great. Young Frankenstein, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We love you, Mel Brooks.
Love you, Mel Brooks. Spaceballs might not be as good as you remember. I would hazard people to go give it another watch. It's still good, just might not be as good as you remember.
But I mean, yeah, Star Wars just is never going to leave pop culture.
Oh god, no.
It just means so much to so many people. It's inspired so many movies.
That's a question. Because, we don't have a definitive release of New Hope or just Star Wars, like high definition, original cut from 77. I don't think that exists really
Probably
anywhere.
not.
Like, that's like an official release, not like a fan made one. Do you think because of that, Star Wars does have like a shelf life? Or do you think, well, newer generations who watch Star Wars, they're going to see a version of Star Wars that's not the one that influenced and inspired hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people.
I mean, I don't think we're ever going to have that original cut because, people at the time probably didn't think, oh, it's just another sci-fi movie.
Here's the thing. It does exist. George Lucas just refuses to release it.
Well, then, that's his prerogative. And, I think we're always going to have kind of like the remastered version that I watched. I mean, whether he decides to tweak it or not, hopefully he doesn't. It's like, just leave it as it is right now. But I've seen a bunch of people either our age or people a little bit older than us showing their children Star Wars. And just, the shocks of the things that happen in The Empire Strikes Back. And, this movie. And it's just like, wow, younger kids that have not lived in a world without cell phones, technology, the internet, are still enthralled in this story. And I think it's always going to be that way.
That's interesting. Because is there a point where Star Wars is gonna fade? And maybe not go away, but maybe it'll fall into like the niche it once held. Where everyone was like, yeah, I know Star Wars, it's fine, but it's not gonna be people who are like, it is Star Wars, I will die for this franchise. Because that was Star Wars for a lot of people for a long time.
Yeah,
but I think we're now starting to see people waning from it a little bit. Maybe like the Fairweather fans,
But I mean, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, eventually they're going to stop making the movies. And
I would hope they stop making the movies.
But I mean, you're stuck with just the movies you have. It's still going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Star Wars is going to be, whether people discover it through the books, comic books, shows on Disney Plus, or the original franchise movies, it's always going to be there.
It's always going to be Star Wars.
It's always going to be Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is such a big entity. It's like, you'd have to, find somebody living under a rock to not know what Star Wars is.
I'm wondering if you could find somebody who doesn't know what Star Wars is. Have you ever heard that statistic? So somebody did this study, and it was like a real study where they traveled the globe and tried to find like very distant, very like under-contacted like tribes of people, groups of people who were like indigenous people who lived deep in the Amazon, who they don't really get contacted by the outside world like very much, if at all.
Yeah.
And they showed them a bunch of symbols and things and just see if they could identify them. There were two things that were almost unanimously, 3 things unanimously chosen. Wherever they went, they were able to at least identify that they recognized and they knew what they were. You want to take a shot at what those 3 were?
No, I'd rather you just tell me.
Oh, you don't? Okay, nah. You're gonna love them. Number 1 is the Catholic cross, or the Christian cross. The cross. Number 2 is the Superman symbol.
Yeah.
And number 3 is the golden arches of McDonald's. Those are the 3 most recognizable symbols on planet Earth.
I mean, those just sound like your 3 symbols that you live by.
I really like McDonald's. It's a thing.
That would be your main symbol.
One day, I will be old, senile. I will forget the names of my loved ones and what my children look like. But those golden arches, I'll know what that means no matter where I go. I know that is home.
I thought you were going to say one day you're going to get a McDonald's tattoo on you.
I thought about it. I don't know if I'm dedicated to the lifestyle that much, I want to have an air of, class to me. But that's like a thing. Star Wars, I think, is probably in that realm of identifiability.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, the Empire logos, the Rebel logo. I mean, even in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they're getting down into the tomb, one of the hieroglyphs in the tomb is R2 and C-3PO.
Isn't there also E.T. in there too?
I don't know if E.T.'s in there. E.T.'s in Attack of the Clones?
That's, yeah.
Or is it Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, because the E.T. people are in, like, the Senate and shit.
Yeah, they pan over, like, all the ships in the Senate. It's a bunch of little ETs jumping around. It's just like, what? And it's like,
boo, they made it home. They made it home.
They made it home, and they also made it to their meeting.
Could you imagine that's why E.T. had to go? He's like, I got on a drunken bender. Like, I gotta go and do some politics real quick.
Ooh, if I miss another meeting, they're gonna kick us out of the Senate. Gotta be back. I'll see you, Elliot.
Oh, God, in my headcanon, E.T. is the party animal senator who's like, I just got voted in, basically just because no one else ran against me, but I'm just doing this for the free Coke. That's my kind of senator.
Free beer. He liked his beer.
Free beer. He did. E.T. endorsing underage drinking. I want that to be noted.
Beer and Reese's Pieces.
Okay, Reese's Pieces, though. Those are going to lead to my early 30s heart attack.
No, they're not.
I eat a lot of Reese's Pieces. That shit's
And you never
great.
share?
So, everybody, that is the film club.
Wow.
I need to get out of this fight. Anything else you want to talk about with Star Wars?
There's just so much to talk about Star Wars because the world is so big.
Yeah.
And it's like, I keep wanting to talk about the other films, so maybe we'll do something where, like, we do, like, a retrospective of the franchise.
Yeah.
So we can really kind of run around and, okay, let's jump to this movie, let's jump to that movie, versus we're trying to just stick with A New Hope.
Which is very hard. Like, I think if anybody who's still listening at this point,
yeah,
we kind of just talked about Star Wars, and we didn't really talk all that much about New Hope.
I mean, we talked about our mom's experiences with it. I mean, the fact that people were lining up around the block to see this. I think
the character's journey going on with Luke, with Han.
mean, the fact that they had the characters out for, like, parades, where, they had them getting their footprints cemented at Grauman's Chinese Theater.
That's a weird one, because it's like, oh, Clark Gable, Mae West, R2-D2 and C-3PO. Wait a minute.
And Darth Vader.
And I'm like, wait a minute, those are fictional characters. What happened here?
Even the whole ordeal of David Prowse, who physically played Darth Vader, and James Earl Jones voicing Darth Vader, because that was a whole controversy. Because David Prowse was, well, you have me reading the lines and I'm playing against the other actors, and then you kind of went behind my back and, brought in James Earl Jones. And it's like, that's who we know to be Darth Vader.
You want to know the best thing about David Prowse? So David Prowse, he goes on, like, the con circuit, and he, does signings, all that other stuff.
He passed recently, too.
Again?
Where are you?
I'm sorry, it happens. So he would sign things since, signed by, David Prowse, the real Darth Vader. And he got into some shit with, I think it was, Disney or whatever, because Disney wanted to push, no, James Earl Jones is Darth Vader, so they can have him as the iconic voice, and he is Darth Vader, and, the guy in the suits, it's a stunt man, doesn't matter. But then David Prowse responded with, no, I am Darth Vader. I think he sent them, a letter back, because they sent him, he sent it back and says, I can do what I want, this is a free country, signed David Prowse, the original Darth Vader. Yeah. And I'm like, you fucking go, David Prowse. You're awesome. Also, he's in The Clockwork Orange, which is cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And everyone is like, Darth Vader's in Clockwork Orange? I'm like, yes, he's the big dude that carries around the other dude who's in the wheelchair. It's great.
But it's like, I can respect both actors. Because, I mean, Darth Vader is such a...
Presence.
And then James Earl Jones' voice is just so iconic. And it's just kind of makes you shudder a bit. It's like, holy crap. Yeah, I can see how he's the destroyer of worlds.
That's the thing. I think that's the beautiful pairing going on here, because, don't get me wrong, James Earl Jones, he is a fantastic actor. He's a phenomenal actor. Yeah. But I don't think he has that physical, imposing presence that David Prowse has in the costume.
David Prowse is...
He's 6'7" or something, and jacked.
Yeah, so it's having someone that height and that build, of course, he's gonna look, terrifying next to, little Princess Leia. But Princess Leia is just I'm not gonna put up with your shit. I don't care who you are.
You remember Princess Leia as the baddest bitch in all of the galaxy.
Hell yeah, and she is.
I really like Star Wars.
Me too.
I really like this movie.
I love Star Wars. And I can't wait to talk about it again. We'll figure out a retrospective at a later time.
Yeah, we'll probably come back and talk about A New Hope in a little bit more detail.
More detail, and then really kind of just run around with the other movies.
Yeah, because are you even ready to do the Return of Skywalker?
Not really. That's probably going to be
Rise of Skywalker.
It's going to be like a shorter talk, but really getting into like Empire, Return,
Menace, Clone
Wars, Revenge of the Sith.
Can we do Clone Wars, the animated show? That show's fire as hell.
Oh yeah, it's a great show. I love that show.
Can we just do that?
We'd have to figure that out too, because I think that's gonna have to be its own episode, because there's just so much that happens.
Yeah. That one would be like an episode a season or some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Star Wars.
Highly recommend. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up on A New Hope. Definitely go at it. This is the pinnacle of the franchise. This is the top end.
Yes.
This is definitely, like, you watch this, you understand why Star Wars is so big.
This was a game changer. This was a true summer blockbuster.
Yes, in every sense of the way.
And that leads us on to our next summer blockbuster for the year of 1978.
I got spoiled as to what this is. What would you like to tell everybody? What we're going from? We're going from fucking Star Wars to
the 50s, because we're going to be talking about Grease.
Oh fuck! It's Grease.
It's Grease.
Oh
yeah.
God damn it! I thought it was something else.
You did, but yeah, we're going to be talking about Grease next week. Yeah, so stay tuned. If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That's The Film Vault on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and watch more of our videos.
And if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram at The Film Club Podcast, where we post stories, trivia, our adventures, and yeah.
And with that, everybody,
we'll see you next week at The Film Club.
Have a good week.